Yeah. Been that dude, so they all better take heed. Got the haters going ghost, like they Patrick Swayze. I've been talking real shit, y'all been talking crazy. I've been on some new shit, y'all been acting lazy. I've been it, so my words are gon' make it float. I'm like dry ice mixed with alcohol in a bowl. Or below zero winter, go and grab a coat. What else can I say? The kid is just too cold. Never told a fib, was born just too bold. Never had to fold, but did break the mold. And as the story's told, if you didn't know, I'm running up the scope. This is DMO. Can you hear me? There's some of them minds, man, they better fear me. They need glasses, they can't see it clearly. I don't chase the money, it just like to come near me. Yearly, truly, my life is a movie. Took her on a date once, now she tryna groove me. I'm really that guy, they gon' have to sue me. Then had the juice, time to mix it like a smoothie. Gruely, they asked me how I get up, I told them had to start down. Found me some real ones, now I got a crew now. Met a loyal girl, 4 years later, that's my boo wow. And now I'm out here giving new sounds like boom pow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, week 1 is in the books, and we are back to discuss it with all the details that you guys may have missed. Guys, welcome back into the Helmet Haven Football Fuck-Ups show, guys. We're happy to be back with our week 2 prediction episode. Guys, we have a few things on the plate. I'm hoping that the quality it can sort of straighten itself out, because right now it is struggling. But I'm hoping that it can hold out.
I'm sure we'll see it here shortly.
Yeah, I'm hoping it can just hold on. I don't know. I think we're just gonna have to deal with it. Fucking bumping up and down between the fucking shit. But yeah, Ken, we actually have a new segment this week, which that'll be fun. But it'll of course be taking place in place of the Journey to Immortality. But Kenny, obviously week 1 has come and gone. We have some news, and then we also have to recap the games. So let's get started.
All right, so first off, Colts and promising young cornerback Juju Brents is headed for injured reserve with a season-ending injury. The former second-round pick was impressive on the field, but however, with the injury, he will obviously miss the remainder of the 2024 season.
That's never good. Obviously, this guy's very young, so we don't want to see him obviously ending his season here in week 1, but. Honestly, I think this week was honestly pretty light for the injuries.
Yeah, I'd say
outside of one.
Yeah.
Which, of course, guys, we will discuss.
Next news we got here is the NFL does not plan. Actually, never mind. It does not plan to place quarterback Deshaun Watson on commissioner exempt list, following his 25th sexual assault allegation.
Oh, Jesus.
Roger Goodell, what the hell are you doing, man? All right, we're just going to go right past that. Already announced just 5 hours ago that quarterback Justin Fields will indeed start again this weekend for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Guys, I'm actually very excited for that. I think Justin has a good chance of stealing the starting job here. Justin Fields played a real clean football game last week. It wasn't like, oh my god, this is an amazing game, but like he played a clean football game, no turnovers, and I think he had about 169 total yards. All-purpose?
Yeah, 215 total yards.
215 all-purpose?
Yep.
Yeah, no, Justin Fields played a real great game this week, and I'm hoping to only see him. I'm hoping we can only see him improve.
And let me also point out, he wasn't told until that morning that he would for sure be starting. So pretty short notice to know for a fact you're going into a game. All right, next up, the Vikings are signing veteran D tackle Harrison Phillips to a 2-year contract extension worth $19 million with $13 million guaranteed. In 2023, he was the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and Phillips is now locked down until the 2026 season. Brown has agreed to a 4-year deal worth $72 million with $45 million guaranteed, helping to shore up that the O-line there for Josh Allen.
That's always good. That's always good. Josh Allen, honestly, from the game we saw this week, Josh Allen needs more protection.
He definitely does. Let's see here. Next up, got to skip through some things because this has more to do with the games themselves than the actual things we want to talk about. I will bring up this one now, however. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, for those that do not know, missed Monday Night Football. We were not told until just before the game, and will be touched on more later. All right, so the former Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney is signing with the Browns.
So he's going to Cleveland. And you know what? Honestly, Cleveland might be a good suit for him. A guy that can't catch footballs playing for a team that really shouldn't exist.
Really shouldn't. Somewhat bad news coming out of LA for the Rams, as Puka Nacua has landed on IR and will miss 4 games.
That's not good. Although I will say this, that will help my fantasy case this week.
Yeah, that probably will be very helpful. This is actually shocking news. I'm just going to put this news near the front, even though it's further down. Jordan Love obviously had that MCL sprain. It sounds like his coach is not ruling him out of this coming game for some dumbass reason, but his exact thing was if Jordan is not cleared, then Malik Willis will be starting and Sean will be the backup. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen, dude. It's an MCL sprain.
Yeah, no. I do want to point this out, and I know I sent it to you earlier. Some people are projecting the Packers to be 0-7 by the time Jordan Love comes back. So Green Bay may be on thin ice here.
Yeah, the only team I can see them beating without Jordan Love is probably the Titans, and that's just because of how their week 1 went, which we'll obviously go over here shortly. The Commanders have released kicker Cade York. This is following 2 misses in their kickoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I don't understand why coaches are continuing to allow kickers to just miss. Like, you have one job, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, obviously, there are kickers that can kick it from further, but judging by where they were on the field when they were making those attempts, he should have definitely made those. All right, next up, we have Jaguars cornerback Tyson Campbell will miss some time with a hamstring injury he suffered against Dolphins. However, it is not expected that he will miss. He will be placed on IR or anything like that. It is expected he'll miss about 1 or 2 weeks.
All right, so they'll have him back real soon then.
Yep. Raiders pass rusher Tyree Wilson, who suffered a knee sprain, is likely to be out, but will not be out long term. Again, probably 2 to 3 weeks.
All right, so again, guys, I do want to point this out before we even started the podcast. Kenny and I were discussing the injuries, and most injuries for this week were relatively light.
Yeah, they were mostly out for a few weeks, out for a week, didn't return for the game, that type of stuff. Okay, Coach Matt Eberflus for the Bears says wide receiver Roma Dunze is getting an MRI on his knee as he had suffered an injury during the kickoff game against the Titans.
Yeah, no, I actually saw that play. It was batted up, and he caught it. He dropped it, and he was kind of down on the play. It was a very strange play.
Let's hope that by next week's show we have a little more clarity on that situation. Next up, we have Steelers punter Cameron Johnston suffered a season-ending knee injury on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons.
Ooh, season ending in week 1, guys. That's brutal.
And this is a punter. That does not happen much. And what sucks for the Steelers is this punter was brought in to bring stability to the position, but he gets injured week 1 as his planted foot was hit by a defender after he had came back down. So not a great scene there, to say the least.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Jake Ferguson for the Dallas Cowboys. It has an MCL sprain as well and will be missing a few weeks. He is, however, week to week.
Okay.
The Rams starting guard Steve Avila had also. There's a lot of MCL sprains, so this is yet another one.
Another MCL?
As the Rams lose one of their starting linemen for at least 2, if not more, weeks.
Well, it's an MCL sprain. Usually that's about a 3 to 6 week injury.
Yeah, it depends on the grade of it, but obviously 3 to 6 weeks is probably about what we would expect. However, here's another sad one for a franchise that is already down in the dumps. Panthers Pro Bowl D lineman Derek Brown suffered a potential season-ending knee injury against the Saints.
Oh, no. Poor Carolina, man.
For those that don't know, that is one of, if not the best players they have on that team right now, and he may be gone for the season.
That's brutal.
Next up, we have. There's nothing out. David Njoku is feared to have had a high ankle sprain injury against the Cowboys. We will learn more about this later, but he is expected to miss at least 4 weeks.
Well, the Browns were kind of down in the dumps already, especially after that week 1 defeat. I see Joey D in the chat. Yeah, we kind of agree. The Browns are not good.
I want to point this out as this is news for a good reason here. The Bears had acquired linebacker Darrell Taylor from the Seahawks for a 6th-round pick. Darrell Taylor came up with 2 sacks in his debut for the Bears, making that trade already worth it.
Very nice, very nice. More pieces to that defense, which I'll obviously I'll just touch on that later when we're going through the scores. But obviously, guys, I'm just going to say the Bears escaped this week.
Yeah, they definitely escaped. Wide receiver Jordan Addison for the Vikings is expected to get an MRI on his ankle to see the severity of the injury. However, it is currently not believed to be anything severe.
Always good.
As
minimal time.
Yeah, if he misses time, it's going to be the Justin Jefferson, so even more so moving forward, obviously.
Good thing I didn't start him this week.
Yeah, that was probably the best thing to not do. Gonna scroll down here and see what else I can find here. For those of you that give a shit about this type of thing, Kendrick Lamar is expected to play the halftime show at the Super Bowl this year.
Drake's gonna be watching that, and he's gonna have to hear Kendrick Lamar call him a PDF file for the 193rd time.
All right, so breaking extension here. We'll touch on this one later, but the Cowboys have extended Dak Prescott to a 4-year deal worth $24 million.
Guys, I think we touched on this a little bit last week, as a matter of fact. Dak did get paid. Obviously, this does mean that the Cowboys will likely have to split ways with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, probably. And by the way, 231 of that 240 mil is fully guaranteed.
But yeah, like I said, I think we touched more on that a little bit last week.
For those of you that might not have heard of this, Tyreek Hill was actually detained before the football game. Footage was released of the incident, and it looked like Tyreek was being very, you know, cooperative from start to finish. They were giving him a hard time, however. Calais Campbell also had went over to try to defuse the situation. After a supervisor showed up, they were released from being detained, and obviously they were both able to play in that Dolphins game.
Yep, and cut Tyreek caught a touchdown and later celebrated by having a teammate detain him.
Yeah, which was hilarious, might I add.
Yeah, that is comedy. I like when they add stupid stuff like that.
It's fucking hilarious to say the least. Let me see here what else. I know there's a little bit more we haven't touched on yet, but I'm waiting for stuff to load. So we already touched on what happened to Jordan Love, so we don't have to worry about that. Commanders have placed backup quarterback Marcus Mariota on injured reserve and signed Sam Hartman to their active roster. So they have two rookies as their quarterbacks for the Commanders at the moment. Anyone else getting flashbacks to Kirk Cousins and RG3 here?
Maybe a little bit.
The Panthers had placed tight end Ian Thomas on IR. He'll be missing the first 4 games. That was before the kickoff games, obviously. Oh, here's a big one. The Dolphins have re-signed or extended cornerback Jalen Ramsey. He is now under contract for the Dolphins until 2028.
Okay, so another 4-year deal. Do we know for how much?
That's probably. I will have to click on it and see if they give any further things here. It doesn't look like there's anything here on the actual post, but maybe there's something further down. I'll have to recheck up on that when we're done with some of the other stuff that's going on here, I think. All right, we already talked about Spencer Brown. Here we go. The Steelers and tight end Pat Freiermuth have agreed to a 4-year deal with $48.4 million to stay with the Steelers.
Okay, so Freiermuth will stay in Pittsburgh. Honestly, you know what? That's good for Justin Fields. Freiermuth is a great tight end.
He's one of the better tight ends, low-key. Okay, so here's the numbers for Jalen Ramsey. I knew if I scrolled down enough, I would find them. A 3-year deal worth $72.3 million. That means he probably had a year remaining on his contract. But that is the deal. 3 years, $72.3 million.
Okay.
And I'd say that's pretty worth it considering what he brings
considering
to that
Jalen Ramsey is consistently one of the better defensive men in the league, you know.
And another, yeah, he's still considered one of the best, if not, the best corner still in the NFL right now. So, hold on one second. Okay, you still hear me?
Yep. We good?
think you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so next up we have another injury, this time for the Ravens, as Kyle Van Noy has suffered a fractured orbital bone on Thursday night's football game.
Ooh. I think I remember seeing that one.
For those of you that know what that is basically your eye socket.
Yeesh.
In layman's terms, obviously. So not exactly a great injury to have.
Yeah, no. Yikes.
Let's see, make sure there's nothing else here. Okay, the Chiefs have re-signed tight end Noah Gray to a 3-year deal with $19.5 million. He gets $6 million signing bonus and $10 million guaranteed at signing.
So another signing for the
So
Vikings.
keeping yet another.
Keeping another piece of that defense.
The Rams have placed cornerback Darius Williams on IR with a hamstring. He will likely miss at least 4 games.
Anything else, Ken? Because
else
we're reaching about the 20-minute mark.
It appears we may be done. I'm double checking here. The Commanders have re-signed standout guard Sam Cosmi to a 4-year extension.
More protection for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, it keeps Jaden Daniels more protected. And I think this is the last big news we got, as the cornerback market again lands another signing, as Patrick Surtain II gets $24 million a year. I believe he is a 4-year extension here. So 4-year, $96 million is the exact numbers there.
Okay. Well, guys,
and that is all for the action.
Yeah, that does it for the news. Moving on, we have to go over the scores for this past week and, of course, give predictions for this upcoming week. So, Kenny...
Did that last 20 minutes?
What's up?
Did that last like almost 20 minutes or exactly 20 minutes?
21 minutes. 21, so, we're good.
I basically called that then. I basically called that.
Yeah, you basically did. All right, moving on into the scores. Here we go. We can start off with the Thursday night football matchup. Of course, guys, we will be touching on events of this game a little bit later. We had the Chiefs and Ravens.
Chiefs and Ravens. Final score was 27-20. The standout performers, in my opinion, was Isaiah Likely with 9 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown, as well as rookie standout Xavier Worthy, who had, I believe it was nearly 100 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns for the Chiefs.
Xavier Worthy, definitely a breakout game for that young man. Young rookie, drafted by the Chiefs. I'm excited to see what he does throughout the season, especially with Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football. But also another standout performer was Isaiah Likely. I don't think anyone had him tabbed to do as well as he did. But he definitely went out there and performed.
Another quick standout I want to mention is Ravens linebacker Roquan Smith intercepting Patrick Mahomes as well. That was a pretty fun play as well.
Moving on, moving on, guys. We had the Friday night matchup. We had the Eagles and the Packers, and this game again, guys, was live from Brazil.
By the way, worst field I've ever seen someone play on. That basically is in the running for the worst field with MetLife Stadium at this point.
Well, you have to remember, it's a soccer stadium. Soccer fields are, the grass on that field is made for, soccer players to glide across lightly. It's not designed for 300-pound men to be hitting each other and dragging each other to the ground on.
All right, so the final score of that game was 29-34, Eagles winning that one. Standout performers were Saquon Barkley, who had 100-plus yards total and 3 total touchdowns.
Yeah, hat trick for Saquon Barkley in his Eagles debut, guys. That is absolute insanity.
And then I believe it's Jaden Reed for the Packers, had 4 receptions for 136 yards and a touchdown.
So there you go, guys. There are your standout performers for that game. Of course, the Eagles did come out on top, and I think so far that makes me 2-0 for the picks.
Yeah, I'm 1-1 because obviously I chose the Ravens in that toss-up game, and I should have won, but we'll get to that later.
Moving on to the Sunday matchups.
We start off with the Steelers at the Falcons, with the Steelers pulling off an 18-10 win. The standout performers, in my opinion, will be obviously Chris Boswell, who scored all of the Steelers' points.
Yeah, no, Chris Boswell beat. Yeah, it was
And also pointing out as well is TJ Watt, who had two very substantial plays called back, but did get the game sealing sack at the end to
TJ Watt, absolute
fold up that.
animal, as always. Of course,
And also want to
makes
say
me
real
3-0
quick,
on the picks.
I do also want to point out that the tight end for the Falcons, also Kyle Pitts, who is notorious for having very shit games to the shit quarterbacks, did have a touchdown. And I believe he actually eclipsed 50 yards receiving. I know he got about, I think, 10 or 11 fantasy points as well. So I wanted to point that out because he has not been utilized properly.
Yeah, no, definitely a more positive game from him. But like I said, guys, that of course makes me 3-0 on the picks. You are 2-1.
Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills. A very shockingly close game, might I add. I don't think either one of us had it being
Quite the
that
comeback
close.
from Buffalo as well.
Yeah, most definitely. As I think the standout performers from this game is obviously Josh Allen for having to hard carry his team yet again,
Oh, definitely.
as honestly, I'm going to give one to James Conner here, who dominated on the ground against that team.
Yeah, surprisingly
I
so.
will.
I thought the Bills' defense would be better against the run than they were.
I also want to have one disappointing member on this team, and that's going to be first rounder Marvin Harrison, who had one catch for I think 4 yards, and that was it.
Yeah, no, I do also want to say he was very underutilized. He was just not targeted.
Yeah, so let's hope that Kyler actually looks his way this coming week. But I believe that does keep us pretty much in line with each other, with me only having the one loss.
I'm still right on all of them so far.
Next up, we have the 17-24 Bears win. It was in Chicago. Obviously, we have the standout performers for each side. It's going to be pretty difficult in this one, but I'm going to give it to Tony Pollard. And on the Bears side, I'm going to say just give it the game ball to their fucking defense, dude. Like, I can't pick one player.
I do have a standout player for Chicago. Jonathan Owens, the former Green Bay Packer. He had a great game. He scored a defensive touchdown that obviously dragged the Bears back into that game. Again, guys, the Bears were able to escape this week. They did not look good. Caleb Williams looked absolutely horrible. Under 50% completion
on him later, by the way.
Yeah, it was very, very rough for the Bears offense this past week.
I'm going to mention this right now. Caleb Williams had 93 passing yards, lowest among all starters this week.
Yeah, very, very rough for the Bears offense in general.
All right, next up we have arguably our upset of the week, Patriots over the Bengals, 16-10.
Yeah, I don't think anyone had the Patriots beating the Bengals, man. I know that's going to be my first L of this week.
Yeah, I believe I went Bengals too, if I remember correctly, so that evens us out there. Yeah, I believe that does even us out. I think we both now have one L on our record.
You have 2.
Oh, did I go Patriots too?
No, you also called Ravens Chiefs wrong.
No, that's the only one I called wrong was Ravens Chiefs, right?
No, you also called this one wrong.
Oh, I thought I said Bengals were winning that one. Oh, well.
Yeah, and the Patriots won.
All right, next, for this one, it's kind of hard to have a standout for both sides because the Bengals were just so bad this game. But I will give the standout for the Patriots side, Ramondre Stevenson, who had 25 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown.
And just real quick, I'm going to record our records here. How many games have we gone over?
I think, hold on, let me go back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. We're at 6.
All right, so I'm 5-1. You are 4-2.
By the way, just so you guys are aware, we are not really competing for anything.
Yeah,
These are
no,
just
there's
for
there's
fun.
nothing on the line for this. I just figured it'd be nice to keep track.
All right. So next up, we have obviously one of our teams games here. I think I'm going to go over more of it. I believe you're going to cover more of it. You're going to be more talkative on your portion of the show for this one. But I'm going to say 29-27 Texans win over Indianapolis in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
I'd say standout player here.
yeah, standout performers. Go ahead, you can do those real quick.
Are Joe Mixon, who had 159 rushing yards and a touchdown, and Alex Pierce, who had 3 receptions, 125 yards, and a touchdown on the other side.
Joe Mixon's the reason that my fantasy matchup was so close this week, but that is besides the point. I do want to say the Texans defense obviously did look pretty rough against the Colts offense. Granted, this is Anthony Richardson. No one really knows how to play against Anthony Richardson with the light sample we got last season. So like I said, I want to give them a pass. I think it's going to take maybe one more week for this defense to fully mesh. But that I'll touch more later on this during the Houston Auto guys.
Yep, I'd have to say the same thing. And I do want to point out something with that Texans team. I don't believe they played many of their starters during the preseason. So that should be something to also bring up for that. All right, next up we have the Jags at the Dolphins with a 17-20 win for the Dolphins here. And players, obviously Tyreek Hill had 7 receptions, 130-plus yards, and a touchdown. I'm also going to point out the Jaguars' first rounder from this previous draft. He actually played pretty well this game.
Yeah, no, definitely a fun game. Although I will say this, I do want to say it was quite the comeback for Miami. They did start down. So Miami was able to come back and obviously win this one, guys. Of course, that puts me at 7-1, and you are at 6-2.
All right, next up we have the Panthers and Saints 47-10. Obviously, I lost this one because this was my upset pick. I obviously did not take into account that the Panthers were still going to suck ass no matter what.
Yeah,
but I
no.
also did not have
I think you overestimated Carolina this week, bud.
See, I also hate Derek Carr, so I was going to root against him week 1 anyways.
I mean, to be in all fairness, this is the Carolina Panthers, but Derek Carr did have himself quite the day.
Yeah, I'm not going to highlight him because I hate him. If you want him to be your standout, you can, but I will not. I'm giving standout to Alvin Kamara and Rashid Shaheed for the Saints, and there is nobody to talk about on the Panthers because everyone sucked.
Yeah, no, it was very rough for Carolina. Of course, that makes me 8-1. I did go New Orleans in this one. So yeah, moving on. What's our next game, Ken?
It's the Vikings handling the Giants 28-6 here.
Yeah, no, this one was This one was kind of a shocking game. Before you even point out the standout players, I want to point out Sam Darnold had himself a hell of a day.
Which, for those of you that might want to know, that will be part of our 30-second timeout is talking more in depth about that guy. But the standout players for this game, I'd say Aaron Jones for the Vikings on offense. And even though they lost pretty terribly, Malik Neighbors did start out pretty well for the Giants.
Of course, that makes me 9-1. You're sitting at 7-3.
Next up, we have my Chargers against the Raiders. You're obviously going to take the lead here because I will be talking more about this in my segment.
Yeah, no, guys. Chargers over the Raiders. Jim Harbaugh comes in, shows he can still win in the NFL. We both called this one correctly. There's nothing really much else to say. So yeah, just great game from the Chargers here in Week 1.
I'm going to add this because I'm going to have a standout for every game, even this one. J.K. Dobbins made that Raiders defense his fucking bitch. And as for the Raiders, I'm going to go Brock Bowers. Nobody really was exceptionally good this game, though. I'll obviously be talking more about that game later, as I have a lot to say about it.
What's our next game?
Next up, we have Broncos Seahawks, and the Broncos lose that one 20-26.
I know I called Seahawks for that one.
I'm pretty sure I called Seahawks too, if I remember correctly.
That would set you to
I don't think I rooted
9-3. Although I will say this, Bo Nix did not look as good as he did in the preseason. So kind of eating crow there for me.
In terms of standout players, we obviously brought up Darrell Taylor for the Seahawks defense. That's who I'm going to still highlight here. But also I don't know if all were done by the Broncos D-line, but the Broncos did force 2 safeties.
Yeah, no, 2 first half safeties. That's something I also want to point out. Both in the first half.
Yeah, one safety is hard to get, let alone 2 in the same half. So pretty impressive there.
Yeah, definitely.
Also for the Seahawks, I'm going to point out Kenneth Walker as well, who had 103 yards and a touchdown on the ground.
What's our next game?
Next game, we have the Cowboys and the Browns, 33-17. I do believe we both called this one right.
No, this one was my upset of the week. I had Browns over Cowboys.
All right, so
yeah, I am holding the out on that one. The Browns looked absolutely horrid.
As far as the Browns standout players, the only one I really can point out would be Myles Garrett. On the Cowboys side, Ezekiel Elliott kind of turning back the clock a little bit.
Yeah, he definitely played better than I think anyone expected him to. Brandon Cooks, I do want to point out, not particularly a standout-ish player, but played a much better game than most people probably anticipated he would.
A play I want to point out, too, is the Cowboys were very much thinking about a 71-yard field goal attempt, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was insanity, and then they pulled the kicker off. I kind of wish they'd attempted it.
Me too, just because it's like, if you make it, you make history, but if you miss it, you can't really be blamed because nobody's tried it from that range either. Like, that would have been dope, but unfortunately, we do not get that.
No, so. Mike McCarthy did not entertain our imaginations this week.
Next up, we got the Washington Commanders against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 37-20. Standout performers, I'm just going to do this real quick. Both quarterbacks played very well, in my opinion. Obviously,
Baker put on a fucking clinic. My goodness.
Obviously, Jaden Daniels did more on the ground than through the air, but hopefully as he gets more comfortable, we'll see a few more passes from him. Baker Mayfield had 289 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. Obviously, quite good by him. And for Jaden Daniels also led his team in rushing with 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. So both quarterbacks did a lot, but unfortunately, those 2 missed field goals definitely probably played a part in this game as well. And so, but Buccaneers win, and Baker puts on a clinic here in week 1.
Yeah, definitely.
Next up, we have the barn burner of a Sunday night football game. It's not a high scoring, but damn, was this an intense game. 26-20 win for the Lions.
Yeah, no, this game, of course, guys, did go into overtime. Hell of a game. I love watching the Lions and Rams match up, man. It's a great matchup every single time.
Standout performers here. For the Rams, I'm going to actually say someone who probably isn't going to get credit that he deserves because this was a loss. But Tyron Johnson stepped up after Puka Nacua went down and actually got some really crucial catches in that game that helped force overtime.
And I believe we both went Lions in this one.
Yes, we did both indeed go Lions. We thought with the absence of Aaron Donald, that would affect the defense. Didn't really affect them, but we did call the
really
Lions
didn't.
on.
It was a very intense game.
Also, Jamison Williams with his breakout game with the Lions is a standout here. 5 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. All right, final game of the first week we're going to go over is the 19-32 win for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, the Niners absolutely blew out New York.
Standout players for this game, Breece Hall did pretty good with the Jets on the ground. And we're also going to talk about the other halfback who Nick thankfully had time to pick up in fantasy. Otherwise, he would have lost this week.
Oh, very much so.
Too. 28 rushes, 147 yards, and a touchdown for Mason, the backup running back, which we'll obviously discuss that a little bit more as well later.
Yeah, no, I had to pick him up in a pinch, guys. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey was ruled out about 30 minutes before kickoff. Definitely some bullshit, and definitely a way to fuck over everyone that owns Christian McCaffrey on their fantasy team. But luckily, I was able to pull away with the win.
And that does it for week 1. We'll be obviously moving on to the predictions a little bit after a few other segments. We'll move on to week 2 predictions.
No, I thought we were doing that now. I thought we were going to separate. No, I figured that makes sense for now. That way we can just go through in order. By the way, for the records, I am 14-2. You are 13-3.
So pretty solid predictions there for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so Thursday Night Football kicks off with a great game, Buffalo at Miami.
Yeah, definitely one of the games I don't think I even have anyone playing in that game, but I think I'm still gonna try to watch it. Definitely a game I'm looking forward to. Like, not all the Thursday night games are, like, particularly suck this season.
Definitely not. A lot of them are questionable and may end up sucking.
Yeah, but this one I have high hopes for.
What's your prediction? I'm going to let you predict first here.
I am going to go... God, this one's tough. God, I really got to think about this one. You said this is in Miami, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to go Dolphins win 35-32.
I am also going Dolphins here. Reason why is quite simple. I do not think the Bills have anyone that can keep up with Tyreek all day, and eventually he will break through and get a touchdown on them. That will probably seal the game.
Yeah, probably.
Next up, we have Las Vegas traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. I'm going to make this short and sweet. Baltimore's going to come into this game pissed off, and that Raiders team is going to feel it.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think there's any questions that we're both going Ravens in this one. Baltimore's going to be pissed after last week and after the events of last week, which we will touch on later, guys. It's definitely going to be a rough game for Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah, real quick, players to watch in that Buffalo-Miami game. Shakir and Coleman on the Bills side. And obviously, Tyreek and Achane will be my two to focus on the Dolphins side. For the Raiders, watch, obviously, Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers. For Baltimore, watch Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers. Next up, we have the LA Chargers traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Obviously, I'm going Chargers here.
Yeah, I'm going Chargers as well. I don't think there's any question that the Chargers are going to go and absolutely waltz on Carolina. Carolina is still dog crap.
Especially after we just learned that they are losing their top defensive player. I don't feel like
I have the Chargers winning this one 49-21.
Next up, we have a battle of teams that had blowout wins last week. New Orleans travels to Dallas to take on the Cowboys.
Ooh. Interesting one. Both these teams were involved in winning blowouts last week. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, though. I'm going to go Cowboys in a rather low-scoring one, 17-14.
I also agree. I think Dallas just simply has a defense that can definitely shut down Derek Carr. And I feel like CD is going to have a big game on the Saints defense. Next up, we got Tampa Bay. Here's another good one. Tampa Bay traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions.
Oh. God, this is tough to call. Baker was absolutely insane this past week. Detroit plays harder than anyone in the league. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to call this one my upset of the week, guys. Buccaneers beat the Lions in Detroit.
I'm going to, again, do the coin flip thing here and go with the Lions just so we at least have some fun games that we disagree on. But I would not be surprised if Tampa Bay wins either.
I'm calling this my upset of the week.
Next up, we have Indianapolis traveling to Green Bay to take on the Packers. And I don't think there's much debate here. I'm going Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Colts. The loss of Jordan Love for the Packers is too large to ignore. Malik Willis is obviously not a great quarterback. So I am definitely going with the Colts.
All right, next we have the Cleveland. Oh, wait, real quick. For New Orleans, watch Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. For Dallas, CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott. Tampa Bay, watch Baker and whichever running back plays. And then for Detroit, watch Williams try to build up on his week 1 performance. And Gibbs. For Indianapolis, it's Richardson and Alec Pierce. For Green Bay, it's I don't even know because they're not going to have their quarterback, so I'm just going to say Josh Jacobs as a cop-out pick there. Next up, we have Cleveland traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars.
Ooh.
This is kind of a tougher one. Both teams were not super impressive in their games, though.
Yeah, no,
Jaguars
definitely
at least
not.
had half a good game.
Definitely not. I think I'm going to go Jacksonville here. I just feel like they're the safer pick.
Yeah, I'd say that too. Despite how good this Browns defense is, I think their offense is going to shoot them in the foot too regularly, too early to get this win.
Yeah, no, definitely a harder game to call, but I'm going Jacksonville.
Next one, this is a game you and I would have laughed at and already had a decision on, but after week 1, we both have to think about this one a little bit more. San Francisco at Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely we have to think about this one a little bit more now, especially with the performance Sam Darnold had last week. Sam Darnold was absolutely out of his mind. I'm still going to go San Francisco. However, I would not be surprised if the Vikings can somehow find a way to pull this one off. They were quite impressive this week.
I'm willing to agree with that one as well. I feel like San Fran still has just way too much. They did not have their top player yesterday, and we're still able to blow out the Jets. They might have him back this week, and that's all I really need to say on that one. Next up, we have Seattle traveling to New England to take on the Patriots.
Another one that we kind of need to think about because the Patriots pulled off the incredible upset this week.
Keep in mind, guys, Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback for New England, when he was across from Jamar Chase, he only caught 3 passes for 15 yards. And that's a top receiver in the league.
I mean, this is definitely another one that we got to think about, man.
The Seahawks didn't play extensively well last week up until about the third-ish quarter. They are playing a team that's going to be on a very emotional high after that upset last week. This one's, again, pretty difficult to call.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to make this my upset of the week. I think New England starts 2-0.
New England starts 2-0. No, I'm gonna go the other way just for the sake of having the coin.
Obviously, this is a coin flip game for completely different reasons than some of the other games we've seen.
Yeah,
This one
no,
could
definitely.
legitimately go either way just because of how surprising these teams have been already.
Yeah, no. This past week we definitely had some surprises. We were treated to some great football this past week. A lot of these scores were like one possession games.
I agree. Next up, we have the New York Jets traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans, fresh off blowing a 17-point lead.
I'm going Jets in this one. I think the Titans shot themselves in the foot way too often to actually be considered anything of a threat.
I'm definitely going Jets too. I feel like this will be much like the Ravens. They're going to come out of the tunnel pissed off, and the Titans are going to feel it. Next up, we have the New York Giants against the Washington Commanders. Commanders, come on.
Yeah, I'm going Commanders as well.
There's no thought process needed here.
Yeah, no, the Giants looked absolutely horrible this past week.
I'd say the standout players for the other games that we've kind of jumped over here, Jerome Forward and Christian Kirk for San Fran, whoever starts at running back, and Jawan Jennings, Minnesota, Aaron and Justin. Seattle, I'm going to say Kenneth Walker for New England. I'm going to say the rookie wide receiver. Jets, obviously Garrett Wilson. Tennessee. I'm going to say this is the week we see some Tyler Boyd action, though, in that game.
Some Tyler Boyd action? Okay.
Giants, Malik Neighbors, because he's literally all they have. Then Washington, obviously Jaden Daniels there. Next up, we have the Rams traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals.
Ooh. You know, this is another tough one because Arizona did look very good this past week against the Bills.
Both of them coming off pretty tough last-minute loss in one case. But both played very hard this past game. We do have to remember Puka Nacua is not playing in this game either. So
I am still going to go LA Rams in this one. I just feel like they're much safer of a pick.
I'm also going to go with the Rams, despite how good Arizona's played. We've seen Arizona not play well against the Rams for quite a bit now, and I don't think it changes here. Next up, this is one we touched a little bit on earlier. It's Pittsburgh travels to Denver to take on the Broncos.
Pittsburgh and Denver. I'm going to go Pittsburgh starts 2-0.
I have to agree with you. I think they have the better quarterback, and I think they have the better defense. So I think that's a pretty simple way to go about that one. Obviously, they both kind of pulled off upsets last week, or one pulled off an upset last week. So that's also playing a factor here as well.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Next up, we have Cincinnati traveling to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs.
I'm going Chiefs start 2-0. I'm sorry. After the Bengals just lost to the Patriots, I don't know how I can go against the Chiefs in that matchup.
I'm also going with the Chiefs here. Again, if this was 2 weeks ago, we would have probably had another toss-up game here. But Cincinnati completely shit the bed week one. I don't see them bouncing back against one of the league's best.
Yeah, no, definitely going to be tough for Cincinnati here.
Next up, we have Sunday Night Football. The Chicago Bears travel to Houston to take on the Texans.
I'm going Houston Texans, baby. I cannot wait for this game, baby. I cannot wait for the Texans defense to absolutely expose Caleb Williams.
I'm going Houston too, and I'm going to say right now it's going to be an absolute shellacking of the Bears.
Yeah, no. If the Houston defense can play better than they did this past week, they should have no problem locking down Caleb Williams. I did like the pressure that they applied to Anthony Richardson, but yeah, we definitely have to keep an eye on the defense.
The one thing that kind of makes this more of a blowout to me is Caleb still thinks this is college and he can turn his back on players and just run out of situations. That's going to prove to not be a good idea with Daniil Hunter chasing you down.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Daniil Hunter's actually one of the players I do want to keep an eye on in this game. I expect him to apply heavy pass rush to Caleb Williams.
Yep, for standout players for the Rams, Puka or Williams and Cup. For Arizona, Kyler and I guess Marvin Harrison should be watched. For Pittsburgh, obviously I'm going to say Justin Fields for that one. For Denver, Williams. For Cincy, Jamar Chase maybe has a bounce back game. They still lose, but a bounce back game nonetheless. Casey, Xavier Worthy. The Bears, I'm going to say keep an eye on their running back room. For Houston, keep an eye on that boy C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins.
Yeah, no, I do want to point out Nico Collins had some amazing catches this past week.
Also, keep in mind, guys, that quarterback wide receiver duo there is probably going to be quite one to deal with for years to come.
Yeah, no, definitely so.
Last game on the docket, Monday Night Football. The Atlanta Falcons travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles.
I am going to go with the Eagles in this one. I don't think that there's any reason not to after the way they handled things against Green Bay.
I agree as well. Atlanta, I'd say watch Bijan and Kyle Pitts, as I still feel like they're going to get some good stats here. For Philly, I'm going to say keep an eye on A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, definitely some safe picks there.
I'm going to go use the restroom real quick.
Go for it. I am going to introduce our next segment. Guys, we obviously, I'll just play the sound bit for it first.
What the hell's going on out here?
Guys, this is the 30-second timeout. This is more used as just a light way for us to touch on things that we want you guys to keep an eye on this coming week. Obviously, it does say Spring Lane Chatter. There's nothing really going on. It's the final week of a lot of college blowouts before we start seeing conference play. So that's why we don't have a list for you guys this week for college ball. But nonetheless, we do have some more NFL things for you guys to keep an eye out for as far as, talent-wise goes, injury-wise, all that.
Okay, so let's start with, obviously we talked about him a little bit already. Let's start with Sam Darnold. Let's talk about what he's done already.
Yeah, no, quite the impressive performance in week 1 from Sam Darnold. I don't think anyone had him doing as well as he did.
I mean, most people already were writing off the Vikings as probably a 3-win team with Sam Darnold leading the charge here, but he shut them up in the first game quite effectively, might I add.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he did have a pick, but for those that didn't watch, that was as he was getting hit and it was tipped. So, not really his fault there. But yeah, Sam Darnold, obviously, first week of the season, came out, proved that he still has some type of talent in his body. A lot of people didn't think he did. I think that him spending that year in San Fran definitely helped him a little bit.
I can definitely agree there. I think that's going to be a huge help. And you know what? I think he only had one incompletion the entire first half.
Yeah, I think he did indeed only have one, if I remember correctly. They talked about it quite a bit on Red Zone about how efficient he was up until that incompletion too. So, all right, and who are we spotlighting after that here?
Unless we have anyone particular outside the player spotlight later, I don't think we have anyone.
Well, I think the other The other surprising development is obviously the New England Patriots.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Patriots pull off the incredible upset against the Cincinnati Bengals this past week. Hell of a start for in a statement win from head coach Gerard Mayo.
Keep in mind, guys, this whole regime from top to bottom is trying to step up after basically a dynasty that had risen and fallen. So these guys have a lot of pressure on their shoulders to live up to. Gerard Mayo handles it perfectly and gets that week 1 win. Jacoby Brissett does his job, does not turn the ball over, keeps them from having short 3-and-outs consistently, and that obviously helped them win. And that's one of the reasons why I went the upset there against Seattle, is because I think they can do it again against this defense.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a fun game to watch. So, guys, that is going to do it for the 32nd time out. Unless you had another one.
No, I actually think that's it.
All right, cool. Guys, unfortunately, we don't have anything for the Journey to Immortality this week. We obviously do those by the season. Neither of us have completed another season since last week. However, we do have a new segment for you guys this week. We are going to go over some fantasy statistics, guys. Guys, welcome to the Fantasy Football Roundup. Now, guys, Kenny, do you want to start or should I?
I'll let you start. You guys think have a more interesting story.
I definitely do. My interesting development is obviously Christian McCaffrey did not play this past week. Obviously he was announced out 30 minutes before kickoff. So that did not look good for me. However, like you said earlier, the backup running back was able to come in, Jordan Mason. And he did gather me 24.2 points. So definitely thankful for that. That's definitely what won me this week. I also had CJ Stroud, who got me 22.6. David Montgomery with the overtime touchdown ended up getting 16.3. Nico Collins, no touchdowns, but still scored 19.7 points on the day. So I think that's just insanity. Every single one of Nico's catches were for large yardage. DJ Moore scored 10 even. He was projected for 13. Obviously, guys, the Bears offense looked a little flat here in week 1. I also had to start DeAndre Hopkins this week. He did not do much of anything. 1.8 points. He just was not targeted much by Tennessee. Nothing much to say there. Kelsey was my tight end. He scored 6.4. Again, not a super impressive game from Kelsey. I think as we get deeper into the season, Patrick Mahomes will definitely start to look his way a bit more. Moving on to my flex, I had Brandon Cooks, who scored 14.5. He was projected for 9.19. There we go. So definitely like I said earlier when we were going over the scores, he did a lot better than people were projecting him to play. My kicker was Tyler Bass. He had 10. So definitely solid numbers from a kicker. And then my defense this week was the Ravens defense. Only 4 points for the defense. Obviously it was an offensive game there in Arrowhead.
All right. Obviously, some great things to point out with your end. Obviously, thankfully, I let you know CMC was not playing in time. Otherwise, we brought this up more than once. So that would have definitely been a very bad L for you.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Especially week 1 when you had it won. All right. So for my fantasy, I'm going to give you guys the players and scores before I give you the actual final. I had Pat Mahomes, he had Burrow. I had 15.14, he had 8.06. David Montgomery had 16.3 for me. He had Breece Hall, who had 18.3. I had Devon Achane, who had 23. He had Jahmyr Gibbs, that had 17.4. I had Garrett Wilson, who had 12 on the nose. He had DK Metcalf, who had 5.9. I had Puka Nacua, who obviously went out just after halftime, who had 8.1 or 8.2. He had Michael Pittman, who had 7.1. I had David Njoku, who had 8.4. He had Kelsey, who had 6.4. For those of you that are wondering, I'm using the official NFL fantasy app. He's using a different fantasy
I'm
site,
using
which is
Sleeper.
why those points are different. I had Devontae Smith, who had 15.4. He had Stephon Diggs, who had 21.9. I had Dustin Hopkins, who had 7. He had Brendan Aubrey, who had 19. I had the Chiefs defense, who had 4. He had the Bucks defense, who had 3. The total was, I ended up winning this one 109.44 to 107.06.
Anyone wondering what my final score was? I ended up winning 129.56 to 111.14.
On the back of that man Mason.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Guys, this next segment is also a new segment, brand new for the NFL season, and I am going to use the sound bit that we use for the 30-second timeout, but just because I feel like it's appropriate, guys. This is going to be a fun segment, guys. Welcome to Ref Ball of the Week.
What the hell's going on out here?
Okay, so obviously, guys, we've been kind of hinting towards this, and we've been kind of throwing comments about this specifically out. I'm going to talk about the honorable mention first. We had a lot of roughing the passer calls and unnecessary roughness calls. Some were borderline. You can kind of see where they were going with it. Others, there wasn't much contact, but even though you don't like it, you can see why they might have called it too. For the one I'm mentioning, it came in the Chargers-Raiders game, where they called unnecessary roughness for somebody's forearm barely gliding across the top of Gardner Minshew's helmet. That's got to be the worst roughing the passer call I've ever seen in my entire fucking life.
That of
I do
course
not know
is
if
not
Dean
our
saw that,
main
but-
ref ball of the week, though, guys. My ref ball of this week is the entire Kansas City and Baltimore game. So many illegal formation penalties called on Baltimore. Not to mention the closing play that probably should have been called a touchdown. And we should have been getting overtime on Thursday night. Those of you that are arguing his foot was out, if his shoe size was like a millimeter fucking smaller, then you'd all be agreeing with us. This is a touchdown all day. Guys, just the ref ball for Kansas City this week was astounding, and the graphic that we have for the ref ball of the week definitely shows just about what happened this week.
Obviously, that was one of the reasons why we predicted Baltimore would absolutely annihilate the Raiders, because they know they were screwed out of that game. We know they were screwed out of that game. The only people that did not think they were screwed out of that game were Chiefs fans.
Yeah, no, absolutely horrid play calling by the refs. Some of the worst flags I've ever seen. Just a bad refereed game. Moving on, guys, we this is where we highlight one player who either had a really great or really poor performance this week. Guys, this is the player spotlight.
Now, we obviously could have had Caleb here, but he's taking our fuck up of the week spot instead. As
Spoiler alert.
I think I mentioned it, as I had mentioned it more than once, he had dodged a bullet throughout the last couple of weeks. He is not dodging this one. So
Yeah, no, we've got him in our sights this week, guys. Don't you worry.
And for the player spotlight, we're going to talk about Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely obviously is the man who was screwed over of that closing touchdown in that Chiefs-Ravens game. He had one of probably the most impactful performances that nobody really saw coming. I know me and you both definitely did not see it coming.
No, I did not see Isaiah Likely having the game that he did. Especially not against the Kansas City Chiefs.
With that being said, let's look over a little bit about a little bit more about Isaiah Likely as the person and the player here. Isaiah Likely's name is Isaiah Leroy Likely. That is quite an interesting middle name. He was selected in the 2022 draft, for those that do not know. As a junior in high school, he caught 59 passes for 917 yards and 11 touchdowns. Now we get to his college career here. I'm just going to go straight to stats there's only about a paragraph here to talk about in terms of games, so I do not feel like there's a need to go over that. So his college stats, he totaled, I'm going to go year by year. 12 receptions, 108 in terms of yards, 5 touchdowns, 32 receptions, 431 yards, and 5 touchdowns again, 601 and 5 touchdowns in 2020. And then in 2021, he had his breakout year of 912 yards and 12 touchdowns. Something to point out, he only played 7 games his first season, 12 is how much he played his second. Sophomore, he played 10, and his senior, he played 13. He finished his career with 133 receptions, 2,050 yards, and 27 touchdowns. So you can see why he might have been drafted. So you see why he was drafted where he was.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hell of a breakout year for him that year.
He was drafted number 139th in the 2022 draft, by the way. In the 2020 season, he appeared in 16 games. He did start only 2 of them. He finished with 36 receptions, 373 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. Quite a small sample size, considering he already has about a third of that right now in just 1 game. Next up is his 2023 season, which was obviously last year. Mark Andrews did go down early that season, which led to him starting basically the entire year. He did have that year. He had 411 yards and 5 touchdowns on only 30 receptions. He seems to be pretty serviceable when he's in, and pretty good at getting, a decent amount of receptions and decent amount of yardage every week, but not anything insane. Obviously, 2024, we went over his stats already. There's only been 1 game, so we don't have to go over that. In his career, he only has 66 receptions and 8 touchdowns. His career high is 5 touchdowns, and his career high in yards is 411. I feel like if he keeps playing the way he does, even if it maybe goes downhill a little bit, I think he easily breaks his career highs this year.
Oh, easily. I definitely think with the performance he had against Kansas City, Lamar is probably going to look his way a little bit more. He had some great catches, and I'm actually very excited to see if he can capitalize on his performance that he had in Kansas City.
A few more things here before we move on from the player spotlight. He is a 6'4", 247-pound tight end. He was obviously drafted in the 4th round, specifically, of the NFL, Career highlighted awards as a 2nd-team All-American in 2021, 2-time first-team All-Sun Belt in 2020 and 2021, and a 3rd-team All-Sun Belt in 2019. Obviously, those are some good achievements to have there for a tight end, I believe. And there's not much we can talk about his personal life, unfortunately, so I think that this segment's going to be shorter because of that.
Well, guys, moving on from there then, we have the personal segments, guys. This is just sort of our moment to touch on things that we want to speak on, go over personal things. Guys, this is Kenny's segment. Welcome to Charged Up.
Okay, so let's start with the game that happened on week 1. All I was hearing about all off-season and all of last season after the game was 63-21, 63-21, 63-21. That's the only way Raider fans were able to even try to argue about anything, was bringing up that score. For those of you that don't know, that score was scored against defense that did not care, against a backup quarterback, no wide receiver 1 or 2, no Austin Eckler actually playing good, and no tight end. The Raiders have to celebrate those type of wins because that's the only way they can cling to relevancy. They have been irrelevant since their last Super Bowl run, but just like the Cowboys, they have to bring that up too because that's all they can do is cling on to the past. You might think, well, they've had some playoff appearances since then, right? Yeah, and both times they got absolutely humiliated because they were egotistical going into those games. When they played the Bengals, they probably should have beat the Bengals that year, but they didn't because they got cocky. Obviously, the first year with Carr going to playoffs, he did absolutely destroy his leg and did not end up playing. But they still lost with a guy named Connor Cook, if I remember correctly. So that I guess I can give him a pass on that. But actually, no, I fucking won't because you guys won't give that to us. So fuck you. You still suck. Now, moving on to the actual week one, it was 22-10. And you want to know what happened that game? Joel locked down your so-called superstar edge rusher and your superstar acquisition. 19 pass rushes, no pressures. Joe Alt put clamps on both your best defensive players anytime they lined up opposite him. So much so that they had to constantly shift to the guards because they know that would be an easier matchup. They were scared of Joe Alt. They did not want anything to do with Joe Alt. And they also know that Rashawn Slater on the other side was not much easier to deal with. You see, this is what happens when a fully healthy team that wants to win goes against you. They punch you in the mouth repeatedly. And I hope every single fan felt every single one of those punches that defense was being handed out, because you all deserve that. Your team deserved that. And something I want to point out, we were up 22-10, and we had some time near the end where we could have put up another touchdown, but we mercied you. We mercied you, even though you didn't mercy us with our backups, which shows, again, how dog shit your fan base is and how dog shit your team is. You guys have to run up the score to make a statement, because otherwise everyone will forget about you in the very next time a different game goes to a final. Why? Because your team is forgettable. It's Max Crosby and flaming trash cans everywhere else on that defense. On offense, you have Devontae Adams. You have two tight ends that are pretty good. And guess what? Flaming trash cans everywhere else. Joe Alt made your line his bitch. J.K. Dobbins made your entire defense his bitch. And the few times Justin Herbert had to throw, which was about 34, even though he wasn't that accurate, he didn't play at all before that game, by the way. He hadn't played since November. He still found ways to at least moderately torch you guys with his arm as well. Oh, and I mean, you saw this play, Nick. Remember when Lad McConkey, the rookie, made two defenders look absolutely silly?
Oh yeah, no, that was a great
seconds?
play from McConkey.
Yeah, he absolutely made your secondary look like they were peewee football players, because they were not able to stop on a dime like he could. So, Raiders, remember that next time you try to talk shit, you're going to get punched in the throat every single time you get ahead of yourself. You were ahead of yourself in this game claiming to be a top 5 defense. That didn't look like a top 5 defense to me. That looked like a bottom 5 defense that was clinging to fucking life that game. You guys did good the first half. I'll give you that. You stopped the run. It was 6-7 at half, but J.K. Dobbins repeatedly punched you in the face in that second half until you broke. We broke you. When you had that 63-21 win, you didn't break us because we already did not care. We broke you, and when we go to Las Vegas, we're going to do it again in front of your bum-ass fan base, which we kind of did even this time, because there was a lot of Raider fans there that got to watch their team get victimized. Oh, and then they themselves got victimized after the game when they tried to fight our fan base, and we absolutely annihilated one of you so bad you fought each other. You guys have to fight off the field because you know your team doesn't have fight on the field.
My God, the passion
You and your...
in this.
Huh?
Nothing. I'm just making comments.
So you guys should probably shift the Bears fans, because just like the Bears did with Caleb, you guys got way ahead of yourselves way too quickly. And just like him, you guys got punched in the face by reality. I saw a video. I might send it to Tame after this so he'll know what I'm talking about. But there was a video of a Raider fan fighting a Charger fan outside the stadium, and another fan punched out his own fan base right after that. They were so mad at you guys, they had to fight each other just to prove that their fan base actually has any more fight than their team does. I could have probably taken a shit that fought back more than your defense did. I hope you enjoy the Ravens using you guys as puppets. And yes, I mean, they're going to shove their hands up your fucking ass and manipulate the shit out of you. And you deserve it. Your fan base deserves it. And I hope Max Crosby gets his ankles juked out by Lamar on every single scramble because he fucking deserves it too. With that being said, I'm going to move on to week 2 where we play the Panthers. I hope we slaughter them quite handily because we should. I hope J.K. Dobbins runs all over them. I hope Herbert has a really good game. And most importantly, I hope we start 2-0, you start 0-2, so we can flip you guys off as you lay in the basement of the AFC West, where you will always be. Because your team and your fan base are the beta bitches of this division. You are the cucks of this division, and you'll always be the bottom feeders. No matter where you finish, you'll still be the bottom feeders because that's what you are. That's what you grow up as, that's what you are taught to be, and that's what you will die at. That is my set.
My goodness, guys, the passion behind that. We got a glimpse at Angie Kenny again. My God. But guys, moving on to my personal segment, guys. This is the Houston Huddle.
Houston, we have a problem.
Fucking mouse, come on, there we go. Alright, guys, so a few things I want to touch on here. Houston, we have a problem on defense. The defense did not look that great against Anthony Richardson and the Colts offense. I understand that we don't really have film on Anthony Richardson. He did not play much of last season. So I want to forgive the defense for this week. As I said earlier, guys, I feel like the defense might take maybe one more week to really mesh together before we can really see what this defense can do. Because all we did on defense was upgrade. Same thing with offense. All we did was upgrade. Excuse me, guys. But that's just something I want to point out from this past week. Moving on to this coming week, we have the Bears on Sunday night, prime time. Cannot wait to see what this offense can do. The Bears defense is a very strong unit, so I do feel like this is the first true test for this offense. C.J. Stroud looked very good this past week, 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins had a lot of big catches. Stephon Diggs had a couple of touchdowns. And of course, Joe Mixon had the huge day on the ground. But that's just, that was last week against the Colts defense. The Bears defense is much stronger. So this will be the true test. Now, something else I do want to touch on personally is I've been called a bandwagon fan now multiple times by several people. And guys, I have a list of reasons why I left Chicago. I've made that very adamant on this show. I basically got off the proverbial QB carousel before I fucking threw up again. Because my goodness. Guys, we do advocate that you guys can leave a fan base if you are truly unhappy. And guys, I was truly unhappy as a Chicago Bears fan. I am much happier with the Houston Texans. Now, the list of reasons why I chose this team, I guess starting off, I do like C.J. Stroud. I like my Ohio State quarterbacks. And C.J. Stroud definitely had a hell of a season last year, and I think he's off to a great start this season. Another reason, guys, for those of you that are longtime fans of the channel, I do the CDL watch parties. I'm an Optic Texas fan, and I usually do like to keep my teams organized, guys. So I did figure maybe I should go with a Texas team, and that left me 2 options, either the Houston Texans or the Dallas Cowboys, and I sure as shit was not going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there, guys. Like I said, if you are truly unhappy with your team, you can leave. Don't let anyone tell you you can't. I think the idea that you can't is stupid. It's going to take a while for you to not be called a bandwagon fan. That's just something that comes with the territory. But like I said, guys, I am ready to stick with this Houston team through thick and thin. I think they're very much a team on the upstart, and I think that we are definitely going to make a lot of noise this season. That's all I really have to say on my segment. Moving into week 2, just like I said, I've basically already covered that. I'm very excited for it. Guys, that of course will bring us to our final segment of the week. The segment the show itself is named after. And guys, we of course did touch on this a little bit earlier as well. Guys, welcome to Fuck Up of the Week.
It was at this moment that he
knew. For the first time in the show history, we actually have a co-fuck up of the week. We're going to start with the one that we're going to get less angry about so we can finish the show with fireworks here. Jerry Jones, what the fuck are you doing? You signed Dak Prescott, who hasn't gotten you over the hump in 8 seasons, to 4 more years. He's 2-something in all his playoff matchups, by the way. He has not played good.
By the way, I think this officially makes Jerry Jones the first 2-time fuck up of the week.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. Most definitely, because I remember it being only a few weeks ago. Actually, no, it was about a month before the season because of his all-in talk that he was having. That obviously was bullshit.
Yeah. So guys, we have the first ever 2-time fuck up of the week.
So the thing that people don't understand is Dak a bad quarterback? No. He's not a bad quarterback. Me and you can be honest about that. He's not bad. He's not bad.
There's to say Dak is not talented is a lie.
The problem is he can't get it done in the playoffs. And you would think that Jerry Jones, after Tony Romo and several other quarterbacks both after their dynasty, would have learned that if they don't get it done in 8 seasons, they're probably not going to get it done in a 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th season. They are constantly fighting with the Eagles, who did a lot more in free agency to bolster their team than Dallas did. And yeah, you guys beat the Browns, but that wasn't impressive to me. Like, you're playing a team that did not have their best player again to start the year. Their quarterback is basically dog shit at this point. The only reason that you guys were able to win that game is because they can't get rid of their shit quarterback. And so they were doomed to fail. Jerry signed him literally during the morning slate of games. And now you got to look at the defense and say, well, that probably means Micah Parsons is going to be leaving that building. That defense is not nearly as scary without him, to me.
Oh, and I definitely agree with that sentiment there.
People say, well, they still have Lawrence. He's not going to last much longer, guys. He's not. He's in his 30s. He might even leave the same time Micah does. And then all you have is your secondary. Which, if your pass rush doesn't exist, that's not going to matter. Because eventually they're going to let a guy get open. They're going to get caught on. And they're going to get burned. Dallas, basically what Dallas did is they made this a must-win year, and they're not going to. It's that simple. They're not. If this was next year or the year after, when the 49ers might lose a bunch of their pieces, the Eagles might maybe lose a few of theirs, the powerhouses might lose some of their good pieces, I could see it happening. But right now, the Cowboys are not winning the NFC. It's that simple. They're not a great team against some of these other big boy teams. And as soon as they get to the playoffs, they always shit the bed.
So, guys, obviously...
Any thoughts you have on this?
I was about to close out with that for at least this half of this segment, but guys, Jerry Jones, obviously, all in. We still don't know what that means. It apparently means re-signing Dak Prescott to another ridiculous deal. As Kenny said, Dak Prescott has not gotten them over the hump in 8 years. I don't see that theme changing. It's very disappointing. Dallas Cowboy fans continue to beat their chest every year about how this is their year, and it is not going to be your year until Dak is gone, and probably not until Jerry Boy is dead. That's just a sad reality. I'm not wishing ill upon anyone. I just think that's just the way things are. Moving on into the latter half of this segment, guys. Guys, Caleb Williams has dodged several bullets from us because mostly we just hate him because his fan base talk him up so much, and we truly never quite understood why. If you look at Caleb's college career, guys, there is no major championship. Sure, you can argue he got the Heisman. That is a personal award. There are no conference championships. There is no national championship. Neither of us have been impressed by Caleb Williams to this point. And especially this week, Caleb Williams is officially being named Fuck Up of the Week. He, of course, guys, as Kenny mentioned earlier, was the lowest producer in terms of starting quarterbacks this past week. He did not look good. Under 50% completion rating. Only 115 yards overall, all purpose, and no touchdowns on the day. I did see Caleb try to scramble around quite a bit, like he did in college, because a lot of people like talking that up. You're not gonna get away with a lot of that stuff in the professional level. I'm sorry. And this is the Titans defense. This Bears offense struggled against the Titans defense, guys. It only gets harder. You cannot play the Titans every week. The Bears obviously did escape with a win due to their defensive play. And I did touch on how strong the Bears defense is in my segment earlier. But, guys, Caleb Williams officially being named Fuck Up of the Week. And we are both absolutely ecstatic about it. Also, just want to point out, the guy that Caleb replaced, yeah, he played better.
Yeah, let me make sure I clarify this. He wasn't one of the worst. He was literally the worst starting quarterback producer last week. I actually looked at all the quarterbacks. Bryce Young, who got blown out, had more yards than him. Yeah, he had turnovers, but we're talking about yards specifically right now. He had more yards. Daniel Jones had more yards. Daniel fucking Jones. The guy that they're actively running out of New York had more yards than him. These guys did have turnovers, yes, but you know what they also had? Well, other than Daniel, a lot of them had scores too. They had touchdowns. Fields, we talked about this, 210 total yards or 16 total yards. Caleb, I think, only had a little over 100 because I think he might have rushed a few times. The guy that you replaced him with did better with less weapons. And you guys might be thinking, what do you mean? He has weapons. No, he has George Pickens, and that's fucking it. That's it.
I would also consider Najee Harris a weapon.
Yeah, but, I'm saying more based off of who he can throw the football to more often. Because I feel like DeAndre Swift and Najee Harris are pretty close to each other in terms of talent, I think.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
But you went from... I mean, I guess you can say he has that, they have Gerald Everett and Kmet with the Bears, and, the Steelers have Washington and Pat Freiermuth. So maybe there's a little bit of debate there. But point is that Caleb has Keenan Allen, who he barely threw to. I do know he dropped one. I think Keenan dropped one. But at the same time, you have Keenan. You had Rome for I don't know how long. You had DJ Moore, you have two tight ends, you have two halfbacks, and to only get 93 passing yards out of that is absolutely fucking atrocious. By the way, I looked this up. In his career so far, with less weapons, guess how many times Justin Fields had less yardage than that?
I would think Justin Fields ever had less yardage than that.
Yeah, in terms of passing yards, he's only had less than him like 6 or 7 times. But when you look at the rushing side of things, he made up for how bad his passing game was. Caleb couldn't even do that. He was touted up to be this really good quarterback that was good at improvisational skills. The next Patrick Mahomes. I didn't see Patrick Mahomes out there. I didn't see anything remotely close to Patrick Mahomes out there. I saw great value Patrick Mahomes. I saw we have Patrick Mahomes at home. I saw Dollar Tree Patrick Mahomes. I saw Chuck E. Cheese toys Patrick Mahomes. That's what I saw out of Caleb Williams. He was a cheap knockoff.
Yeah, no, definitely a not
cheap.
impressive game out of Caleb Williams this week. And Bears fans, you guys talked him up a lot. And I feel like if he cannot straighten that out, oh my God, you guys may have drafted the biggest bust at quarterback in years.
Also, one more thing when it comes to Caleb Williams fans. Don't ever say your bum-ass quarterback is better than mine, because he's fucking not.
Don't ever say he's better than CJ Stroud either, because he's not.
Herbert on his worst day still had more passing yardage than that bum. And he was playing a really stout defense in the times where he had less yards than that. Not the Titans.
Well,
so
guys,
again, right now, he is the worst quarterback in the NFL right now in terms of stats across the board. I don't think he fixes it this week against a very good Texans team. He might, but considering how bad he played against a worse defense, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. So, guys, that just closes out the show, guys. Kenny, any closing thoughts?
As per usual, we thank anybody who's watching the show live. We also thank anyone who might be watching it on YouTube, after it's posted.
Yes,
obviously, we will be back next week. Maybe we might have the Journey segment to go back to. We don't know yet.
Possibly.
But let's hope this is another fun-filled week of football. Let's hope for
just
good amount
real
of close
quick
games,
before
fun
we sign off, Ken. There is something I do want to point out for the Journey to Immortality. So let me touch on that for a second, guys. This slide is going to change, guys. My position is changing due to the fact that I am getting an LOI from my boy that I recently just went over and watched football with Sunday to join the semi-professional team, the Midwestern Wildcats. So very much looking forward to that. They're probably going to put me at a speed back position. So my position will be changing for the Journey to Immortality. I will be doing 4 more years of college, and this slide will slightly change. However, my number will not. I am still going to be number 16. Just wanted to touch on that real quick before we sign off. Guys, thank you, as Kenny mentioned, thank you to anyone that watched us live. Thank you to anyone that's watching us on YouTube. Be sure to drop a like, follow the Twitch so you guys can listen to us live and interact with us more. Guys, it's been a fun week of football. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next
so they all better take heed. Got the haters going ghost like they Patrick Swayze. I've been talking real shit, y'all been talking crazy. I've been on some new shit, y'all been acting lazy. I've been it, so my words are gon' make it float. I'm like dry ice mixed with alcohol in a bowl. Or below zero winter, go and grab a coat. What else can I say? The kid is just too cold. Never told a fib, was born just too bold. Never had to fold, but did break the mold. And as the story's told, if you didn't know, I'm running up the scope. This is DMO. Can you hear me? There's some of them minds, man, they better fear me. They need glasses, they can't see it clearly. I don't chase the money, it just like to come near me. Yearly, truly, my life is a movie. Took her on a date once, now she tryna groove me. I'm really that guy, they gon' have to sue me. Then had the juice, time to mix it like a smoothie. Gruely, they asked me how I get up, I told them had to start down. Found me some real ones, now I got a crew now. Met a loyal girl, 4 years later, that's my boo wow. And now I'm out here giving new sounds like boom pow.